Hi, welcome everyone. I'm Monica Marquez, co-founder and chief learning officer here at Beyond Barriers, and I want to welcome you to today's episode. Today is International Women's Day. It's Women's History Month, but today is very special in that we are celebrating women across the world. And this year's theme is Break the Bias. And this is all about imagining a world free of bias, free of stereotypes and discrimination, a world that's diverse, equitable, and inclusive, a world where difference is valued and celebrated. Yet, the truth of the matter is, our reality is in stark contrast to this future, very challenging times. It seems that there are new obstacles and conflicts every day around the world, and women are being disproportionately affected everywhere. But every time there's a seismic shift in the world, it leads to something new and something more profound emerges. And that creates the space and the need for change makers and leaders to rise up in this world. And that's the opportunity that we'll be talking about today, and how you can be the change maker and grow your impact and influence. I'm going to share with you how you can find more meaning and more fulfillment in your life and career and contribute beyond your role and your organization. But before we move forward, I want to take you back 100 years. Think about 1919. The biggest innovation of that year was, drum roll, can you guess? The pop-up toaster. Yes, the pop-up toaster was the biggest invention of the year. Today, every single industry is being disrupted with game-changing innovation. I mean, we have cars that drive us. We have speakers that listen to us. We have watches that know us, that can warn us if we have an irregular heartbeat. There's unbelievable opportunity for those that are future ready. You see, more wealth will be created in the next 10 years than in the past 100 years. But there's also bad news. The divide has never been greater. The divide of wealth, race, gender, the digital divide. This divide is creating a new kind of haves and have-nots. Those that are inventing the future and benefiting from it, and those that are getting displaced by it. Women added $2 trillion to the world economy, but despite all the progress and potential, women and minorities are getting left behind. Did you know that the time it'll take for the gender gap to close grew by 36 years in a space of just 12 months because of COVID? According to the World Economic Forum, their 2021, their global gender gap report, the reported estimate will now take an average of 136 years for women and men to reach parity on a range of factors. But don't let that fool you. Okay, it's 136 years across the board. But when you dive into certain factors and certain aspects of the gender divide, the scariest number to me is that according to this same report in 2021, it'll take 268 years to close the gender and racial wage gap. Yes, more than 2.5 centuries to close the gender and racial wage gap, how much money we bring home. I'm not willing to wait 2.5 centuries to make the same amount of money as a male peer for the same job. Women shouldn't have to wait more than 2 centuries to get equal income and opportunities. Absolutely not. So why are women getting left behind? A national survey by the Working Mother Research Institute revealed that junior and mid-level women don't know what opportunities exist for them and how to pursue them. They don't understand the benefits of getting P&L experience, profit and loss experience. They don't understand the importance of networking, of the true value of mentoring and sponsorship and being strategic about those relationships. And these young women are afraid to take risks in the form of job opportunities when they don't have all the skills required. They want to check all the boxes before they throw their name in the hat. Now, I've experienced this firsthand, but eventually I learned what it takes to level up. As a young Latina from a small West Texas town, I was the first in my family to go to graduate school. And when I packed up and moved to New York City, I was lost in a sea of really smart people, ambitious people with Ivy League degrees. And I realized very quickly that I wasn't like them. So I set out to do what all young Latinas are taught to do growing up: work twice as hard, keep your head down, and wait for someone to notice you, right? Hearing my mother and my grandmother telling me, "Mija, put your head down, work really hard, and good things will come." Yes, but no, a really big no. I knew that no one was going to rescue me. I had to rescue myself. I learned how to level up and get the opportunities as a senior corporate leader in diversity, talent acquisition, and leadership development from some of the world's top companies. And I was able to pioneer game changing initiatives at companies like Google and Goldman Sachs, and creating great opportunities for individuals and programs like the returnship program that helped women re enter the workforce. And although I achieved a lot in my corporate career, I knew that I wanted to do even more at a much bigger scale. I wanted to create change. And I knew that for me to create change, I had to be the change. What I've been able to achieve in the past couple of years is greater than what I've been able to do in the past couple of decades. And that's because of the strategies that I mastered and that I was able to grow my impact and influence in a very different way. And that's exactly what I'll share with you so that you can do the same. Now, the 5 key areas that here at Beyond Barriers we focus on through research and thought leadership and peer-reviewed research, we identified 5 key areas to help accelerate success. The first is the power of clarity, discovering your purpose and defining your path. Based on additional research that we were doing, the research indicates that only 15% of women have clarity on their career path and are being strategic in advancing towards their career goals, towards their North Star. There's so much noise, and the market is so crowded right now that you have to claim your mountain. You have to know how to get to the top. You have to know what that North Star is. If you don't have clarity on where you want to go, then how are you going to get there? So clarity is number one. Get on getting clarity. Second is the power of courage, overcoming fears and limiting beliefs in order to move forward with confidence. Did you know that 70% of high achievers struggle with imposter syndrome? 70%. And it's of high achievers. So knowing how to turn imposter syndrome and fear into motivation, learning how to take risks and be decisive, taking decisive action, and going after what you want instead of hesitating with self-doubt, and owning your achievements. That's the power of courage, of understanding that there are the fears, there are the disempowering beliefs, there are the limiting beliefs, but you learn how to move forward despite the fear. You have more faith than fear. That's the power of courage. The next thing you have to really focus on is the power of conviction. And this is all about not just moving forward with conviction, but a conviction really is all about anticipating and adapting quickly to change. The scary thing is, in this digital world, this, of things constantly innovating, the shelf life of skills is less than 18 months. Yes, whatever you're learning to do today is going to change in a matter of 18 months of doing things differently. We know this. We see it all the time. You buy a new Apple iPhone, and in the next year it changes. There's new software, new things that you have to learn. You have to do things differently now on your phone or whatever. The skills that you learn change. No matter what you're an expert in, it's going to be obsolete if you don't stay with the time. So knowing how to spot that wave of change and riding it is super important. Being agile and mastering the skills of learning. Really, the biggest power skill is going to be learning. Having certainty on your ability to succeed, even in the midst of uncertainty, knowing that you have that competency to learn and to always learn and practice just-in-time learning. That is important. The next C is the power of commitment, staying focused on the right thing at the right time. And that's key, right? The right thing at the right time, learning how to prioritize. You see, Everyone has dreams, but only 8% of people achieve their goals. It's a known fact. It's a statistic. There's science behind it. Knowing how to paint a compelling picture of the future, setting your goals and systematically turning that vision into those goals, roadmaps, and daily action, that's how you're going to make it happen. You see, everyone has the same 24 hours. It's mastering the art of effective execution that you need in order to achieve and gain that fulfillment. You're not going to get those goals done unless you take action. And that takes planning and foresight. And so, really, it's that power of commitment, of having understanding what is my North Star? What is that big, scary, hairy, like vision that I've set for myself? And how do I break it down into tangible goals in order to get there? That is what we mean by the power of commitment, learning how to break those things down into those small micro goals so that you can get to the big, amazing, compelling vision that you've set for yourself. And most importantly, celebrating as you go along, celebrating the journey and the progress, not just celebrating when you get to the end goal, because sometimes that might be years out before you get there. So celebrating while you go along the way, that's the power of commitment. And then finally, there's the power of community. And this is probably one of the most untapped areas that women and minorities leverage, the power of community, leveraging that power of your influential tribe. And I don't mean, leaning on family, friends, or whatever to help you in your personal life. I mean, power of community, leveraging your community even in your professional career. We don't do that as much. More than 90% of opportunities come from people you know, whether it's business deals or jobs. Knowing how to ask for help and who to ask for help is extremely important. And expanding your circle of influence and deepening those relationships to achieve those goals will help get you there. You see, the problem is women have large communities, but they often hesitate to ask their network for help. That has got to change. You've got to learn to tap into that enormous potential and resource to help you get to where you want to go. Now, here at Beyond Barriers, we've turned these 5 keys into a proprietary framework and an assessment called the momentum metric. In fact, if you'd like to get your personalized momentum metric, you can get a detailed report. You just have to go to iambeyondbarriers.com/quiz and take the free assessment. You go to our website, iambeyondbarriers.com. You can click on quiz, take the assessment, and you can get your own report. Now, to gain momentum, you must remove your barriers and double down on your strengths. And this isn't just a one-time thing. It's a wheel of momentum that you have to continuously optimize. And when you apply these 5 strategies around these 5 C's, these 5 areas, you can turn every obstacle into an opportunity and accelerate your success. In a world that's moving fast, you can't afford to stand still or move slowly any longer. You see, as I look ahead in the next 10 years, I see an entirely new set of challenges emerging on the business landscape. Every organization needs a skilled and diverse workforce and for the future. The work, agile, ready to take on what's coming on. And it also has to be inclusive and an innovative culture. And in a world of AI and automation and digital disruption, our innately human skills are going to matter more. Do you hear that? Yes, we have to uplevel our skills, but what's going to be most important with AI, with automation, all of these things, we lose the human touch. Our innately human skills are going to what matter more. Creativity, communication, compassion, collaboration. Those are the things that we have innately. And so those are the things that, women really need to focus on, and minorities. That's why we need more women to have a seat at the table shaping our future, because these are somewhat innate in us. The creativity, the communication, the compassion, we have a bias towards these. And so this is what's going to be valued in the future. And we have to double down in those areas. Across all dimensions, women must overcome the systemic bias that affects advancement. And it's time for more women to not just be great at their jobs, but to be visible, to be powerful, to be influential. And that's why Beyond Barriers is on a mission to accelerate women in leadership. Traditional career development programs, they're not designed for women and they aren't preparing them for the digital age. Most of all, these programs aren't scalable and they're not accessible to all women in the organization. It's usually limited to a lucky few or a few people get nominated into programs. We at Beyond Barriers believe it's time for a radical solution. Designed for women in the digital age, driven by data, and democratizing access to professional development for every woman. We believe this is the most transformative program of its kind, and we want to empower 1 million women worldwide. We know this is game-changing, and we're inviting you to be part of this movement. If you're a senior executive, then sign up to get certified as one of our Beyond Barriers leader coaches and develop the next generation of leaders. And if you're a young, hungry, ambitious woman who wants to get ahead and advance your career, then join the accelerator and become a future-ready leader. For us to create change, we have to be the change. In the age of influence, visibility really matters. You can't change hearts and minds if you're invisible. Visibility creates awareness, and awareness leads to acceptance. And that changes the world. Thank you for joining us today. Keep going beyond barriers and take all those around you with you.